Welcome to Aviation Live with Aviation Zero. I'm delighted to be chatting with North Dublin MABS Regional Manager, Gwen Harris. And Gwen is here for our annual holiday season Money Advice podcast. A very warm welcome to the show, Gwen. Thank you for joining me today. First question, where are you right now? I can see you, but they can't.
Okay, I am at the moment. I'm in Blanchardstown in
very,
Dublin.
very exotic.
Yes, very exotic. So I'm in Blanchardstown in Dublin, in where our helpline is. So
very good. And
yes.
you're obviously, it's 10 to 6 in the evening. Or overtime today, or just?
I am, because you're worth it. Yeah, L'Oreal of podcasts.
Oh,
you're worth it.
You can
yes.
see my hair. So the first question is, Gwen. So generally, just get us cracking on. I'm sure the listeners are so excited to hear us chatting about this today. But why have you been on the Aviation Zero podcast more than once? Can you let me know?
Obviously, I am more important. No,
okay.
Perhaps because it's a finances are a common factor to everybody, and I suppose particularly this year, with all the things that have happened, and the impact that has had on tourism and aviation. Maybe we have had a lot more to talk about this year than maybe before, and glad to be invited. Thank you very much, and I hope that people do get something from it, from listening to the two of us having a chat.
It's actually interesting because remember last year we did one. We did a podcast last year, and it was kind of some of the stuff that you were explaining. Kind of how to go back to basics. I remember you said that, kind of making cakes and making your cards, and it's probably kind of more relevant now considering what's going on, or what do you think?
I think so, and I think this year, even when you think the hardest thing to buy this year since March has been flour, as in baking flour.
Yeah.
And that is because a lot of people did go back to basics. Whether they were at home and they were at home with children and they're looking at life skills and they were looking at things to do to entertain children while we have lived in and out of restrictions. And I use the word in and out because like probably if you're listening from around Europe, like other countries, Ireland has been in different stages of restrictions and lockdown, if you want to call it, as we try and live and outsmart COVID in some ways. So because of that, we found ourselves with children at home with less activities to do. And I think that people turned to basic activities, which did include baking, making pizzas. I was talking to somebody earlier on who made their own pasta during the summer. And we were teasing, we were saying, I thought pasta grew on trees. But, people did. They've brought back to the bit more basic and perhaps a bit more basic in our budgeting as well, because, and I don't know whether you felt this yourself, when the shops closed, you couldn't just pop to, so I live close, well, I work in close to Blanchardstown Shopping Centre here, live close to Liffey Valley. Sometimes I would just go for a stroll around the shopping centre in pre-COVID times, and you would buy stuff that maybe you didn't really need, or maybe you did want but not need now, or whatever, and those choices being taken away from us by the closures of shopping centres has changed our spending habits in some ways. And I think that the last time I spoke with you was with Sandy from ECDN, and we both said that in lockdown, as we were at the time when we were talking, was a really good time for us to sit and look at our budgets, because we weren't really going anywhere outside anyway. So sitting and looking at your bank account was sometimes the only option because there was nothing left on TV to watch. And so I'm not taking away from anybody who lost their income during that time. I'm not trying to be too lighthearted in a disrespectful way, but I'm just saying that everybody this year has had cause to look inside, look at our bank account, look at our spending, and has had time to do it while the shops have been closed, etc.
So
if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, MABS be more likely quite busy at this moment in time. So for anybody that doesn't know about MABS or heard of MABS before, what services do MABS provide?
So MAB stands for the Money Advice and Budgeting Service, and we are debt advice service that is in Ireland. Again, I'm conscious that you might have people listening not from Ireland and they might have other debt advice services in their own country, or somebody could be listening in a country that has no debt advice service. So going back to basics again about what is a debt advice service. So MABS, we look at all aspects of the family financial situation. So we would maybe meet with people who are looking to save and budget and make the most of their money. So little budgeting tips. Then we would meet with people who are struggling to meet their financial commitments, whether it's through loss of income or reduced income, or sometimes having a baby and their expenses go up and then they find it difficult to meet their old repayments, their mortgage payment, meet their loans, or for some people staying on top of gas and electricity, the basic utilities and food. So we would work with people to look at what's coming in, look at what's going out. We would help them design a budget that protects the family home first: light, heat, food on the table, clothes, medical needs, education. And then we'd help them look at making offers to their creditors after that if they owe people money. And
is it beneficial then to get in touch with MABS as soon as possible, that if you are having any problems?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think there's any wrong time to call us. Even if you got in contact with MABS and you said, I am not sure if you can help me, here is my financial situation, and we can point you in the wrong direction, or we can point you in the right direction.
That's the wrong
even
direction.
If no, sorry, apologies. We can point you, that'd be a bad service, I think, but we will point you in the, you can leave that in, we can point you in the right direction, even if we can't help you with that query, if we were the wrong contact for you in the first place. And because I do appreciate that there are a lot of people affected by COVID with reduced income or loss of all income because of the pandemic and different impacts on society, that I appreciate that there may be people who have never been unemployed before. So not only are they struggling to navigate debt or mortgage payment or otherwise, but some people are really struggling to understand a welfare system or their entitlements and rights for payments and supports. So there will be a lot of, I suppose, facets, a lot of different confusions for people, or just different aspects that they need a little bit of direction on.
Are you seeing any other industries, coming towards MABS for help rather than before? Is there any other, like maybe the aviation industry or tourism or transport, or is it specifically quite balanced throughout?
We're certainly, we have seen people coming forward from the aviation industry, and whether that's because of your own work of getting us known or noticed or informing people in the aviation industry of contacts that, that debt advice is for them as well, or whether it is because of the impact. We welcome any industry contacting us. Obviously tourism and hospitality, from aviation all the way down to your local pub and your local cafe, have been quite affected, because in Ireland being closed, the wet pubs, as you would call in Dublin, have not opened yet, and that has to be having big effects on lots of people within that sector. All the way to your own industry, the aviation industry. Obviously, there's such a significant drop in travel and tourism by plane, anyway, that we've seen. I think, was there 197 million? Wasn't that one of the numbers? Yeah. That was the reduction. So naturally, there is that effect on the industry that is more transparent now than was before. Yes. I think last year, our first contact was probably around Thomas Cook, and that was a singular company rather than the entire world's companies of airlines, etc. Yeah. So it's when I say transparent, it's so obvious now, the industries that are directly affected
Is it,
are probably more affected.
I mean, we talk about the industry specifically with aviation, and maybe some of the maybe pilots or cabin crew, maybe they might be kind of embarrassed. Is it normal to be embarrassed to ask for help? Or does it, I mean, do you find, Gwen, that if somebody does come to you and are kind of stressed or worried or they have anxiety, that once they get to speak to somebody from MABS, that they actually feel a bit more, oh, okay, I actually feel okay now, or a little bit more, they can plan something?
I'd really hope that they do feel that sense of relief when anybody contacts us. And yeah, going back to your first question, there was about, do people generally feel embarrassed? Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, particularly in Ireland, and I can't speak definitely on the rest of Europe and how they view debt advice or insolvency solutions or debt solutions otherwise. But here in Ireland, our experience is that it's generally something that people feel very, very embarrassed about. And that's quite sad, really, because here in Ireland, we don't, I'm going to correct myself there. It's not that it's quite sad. It makes me sad still that people feel that way, because we don't teach money management or budgeting in school. So therefore, it is kind of like saying, when you turn 18, here's the keys of the car, off you go and drive now. Sure, you've watched me drive all 18 years of your life. You have to know how to do it.
Yes.
It's the same thing with money. So you grow up with a house and bills being paid and so on, and you might know they're being paid. They might be invisible to you. They might be on email. They might be hidden otherwise. And then all of a sudden you start working and you're expected to know how to budget, because we don't teach it in schools. And because we don't teach something in schools, it's then not normal in society in one way. If you teach it in school, if you teach cooking, when you went back to teaching home ec and cooking in school, it was then that was a normal life skill. And we teach civics, I can't remember, CPSE now, talking about your right to vote and our constitutional rights. We teach that, but we don't teach the basic skills of budgeting and of dealing with, say, being out of work, where we don't, what I would call kind of citizenship of, if you're unemployed, here are your options. Or if you're working, here is your tax. You would learn that in a subject such as business, BizOrg or business. You might learn it in home economics. But if you don't take either of those subjects, you would never touch on budgeting or household bills or tax. You would never touch on those topics. So as a citizen then, how are you expected to know? It comes back then to the family. But as a family, we're still living in society that views money management as a shameful thing. And it's closed and it's behind closed doors and it's not on the curriculum in school. Therefore, it's a dirty secret kind of thing. And unfortunately, then when people come to us, they feel embarrassed that they're not able to manage their money, because they feel everybody else is able to manage their money and they're a failure. And that is so far from the truth, because as we now know, and one positive thing from a situation such as what we're going through at the moment, with moving probably into a fairly tight financial time for the country, people are worried about, well, will they be impacted next year and so on. But one good thing about that is that we become quite open about discussing money. And we're talking openly about how many people have become unemployed or lost their income temporarily because of COVID-19. Outside of COVID-19, you would not hear that daily in the news.
No.
And therefore, you kind of think you're the only one. You're the only person who's lost their job, or you're the only person who's reduced income. And this year, the government went and they talked to the banks. And they tried to make deals on what was called a moratorium or payment breaks. And that made it normal that it was saying, yes, we recognize that people aren't going to be able to pay the mortgage. outside of this, we don't do that. But I'm hoping that we keep it going forward, because it's not a shameful thing to experience some kind of struggle or indebtedness or worry about paying a bill. It's not a shameful thing at all, and it happens to everybody for any amount of reasons.
Do you think as well, Gwen, that with the, we spoke about this last year with, the impact with regards to social media, because, as you mentioned there already, that people might be embarrassed and they feel that the other person, is paying the bills and they're looking after their family. And you see someone on Facebook, for example, or one of the social media platforms, and you're seeing your next door neighbours and they have a nice car, and, they've the best of gear for the kids for Christmas. Santa Claus has arrived with all the toys, and it kind of makes you feel a little bit inadequate, especially if you're going through these financial issues. Is it right to say
keeping up with the Joneses?
Yes.
Would be the one where you do compare yourself, but you're comparing yourself to the piece that somebody puts out there. Yes. Rather than what's behind the door. We don't know what people are struggling with otherwise, but it's so easy to compare yourself to other people, and that indeed increases the shame.
Yes.
But social media is also really, really positive for this kind of situation, such as if you ever searched a hashtag debt-free community, or just debt-free community, you come across a lot of people who are publicly talking about their journey to paying off their debts and all the changes that they've made. Like, I know you had Santis O'Gara on, yes, or the Caribbean Dub, and Santis is very, very practical. She's also very open and talks about her personal journey, how much debt she started off with, how much she discharged. I think it was 15,000 just in the year, and how she did it.
Yeah, she jumped into the ocean, Portmarnock Beach, and
yes,
froze herself.
Like, yes, it's not the Caribbean Santas. Yeah, so, but no, it's things like that. So social media does have some really positives, and it makes things a little bit more accessible for some people who might kind of feel shameful about their money management, who feel isolated and who don't know where to start. And social media can give people confidence if they look in the right direction. And it's about looking up something trusted and something that's going to guide you. But if I was following somebody or I saw somebody on social media that made me feel negative about myself, do you know what? I'd snooze it for a while, maybe, until I started to feel a bit more in control, or I started to feel a bit stronger about my own financial situation. So I think we have a choice in social media about who we follow and who we decide is not good for me.
Before, Gwen, we chat about your personal spending habits, and we're trying to keep this as upbeat as possible.
Sure. Yes.
And we just want to focus on money advice. So can you please explain to me why Just for Men hair dye and Oil of Ulay face moisturizer is out of my budget at this moment in time, and how can I best budget to ensure I can always look my best?
Maybe it's the quantity you need.
I'll go for the special offers, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, no. I think if you want me to answer that seriously in one way, right? I think that those kind of expenses are things that, personal upkeep or personal care is something that when we think of a budget, we think of negative. We think of completely cutting out everything that's good for me. That's not what a budget is. A budget should be, and this would be what MABS would encourage, that a budget is something that's going to last a long time. As in, you don't feel that you're being punished living in it. You do have to make some, if you've got a lot of debts, or if you are overspending in some ways, there might be some changes needed, but they're for your own choice. And the Just for Men and the Oil of Ulays, if you want to have in your budget, it is about planning and maybe making some other changes for you to be able to afford them. Now, I think that personal care should be naturally in your budget, but if we moved on to talking about my favorite, the takeaway coffee every day.
Yes.
If I want to have my takeaway coffee every day, which is my treat, then there might be something else in my budget that I need to do, such as I mentioned to you, changing my bank account to reduce my bank charges.
Right.
And then I'm saving on one half of my own personal budget. So then I can move that money into having the money there to have my treat, to buy my takeaway coffee. Now, that sounds very basic, very simple, a takeaway coffee. And I do appreciate people might be worrying that they're not going to be able to pay their mortgage tomorrow. But that is the basics of any budget. It's putting down everything you spend, putting some way, a mark around it, a circle, an asterisk beside it, what is the essential that you have to pay, such as your mortgage, your light bill, heat bill, rent, if you live in shared accommodation, your portion of the rent, and any commitments, that your food, education, medical. You go that, your basic human rights, if you want. You protect them first. Then after that, you make a personal choice. Holiday, transport. You will need transport, but do you want to buy a 40,000 car? If you do, you've got to save for it, and then you have to be able to pay it back if you're going to borrow it, or, so you may have to make other changes in your life to be able to afford that. And that's what a budget is. It is your basics first: light, heat, food on the table, roof over your head, education, medical, and then after that you're moving out into your personal choices. So we'd say clothing is an essential. Well, I know in level 5 there was a debate about whether clothing is essential, but let's just say the MABS believe clothing is essential. Your clothing should reflect your affordability. So if I can afford to spend €300 on a pair of jeans, and that's what I can afford, that's my personal choice. If my budget really kind of moves me into more high street for clothes, then that's the choice I should make, because that's what's affordable to me. So I will have clothes, but maybe I might have to choose a different brand.
Right.
To to be able to fit in with my budget. And they're the personal choices that we have to make. Such as me and my coffee. I choose it, but I might shave off something else, like changing my bank account or changing my gas and electricity, and make savings another half to put it in to my treat of my coffee every morning.
So do you want to tell the listeners, Gwen, how much do you spend on your coffee treat a week?
My coffee treat? Yes. A week.
So, roughly. Now, do you get a biscuit as well? Do you get one of those biscottis? No. I would. I buy them and I would bring them. So I do save on that. Where right. I don't buy my takeaway treats, but I buy my coffee treat. And so, yeah, you would be talking one a day, and I would have it at the weekend as well. Right.
Now, what has affected my costs is that I cannot bring my own cup. So in Ireland anyway, with COVID, you're not allowed to bring your own cup. To a lot of places will not take your cup right. and make your coffee. Whereas before, I was able to even reduce my coffee spending by having my own reusable cup, bring it with me to a coffee shop and ask them, and then you got your reduction in costs. But that's not available to me now. So that's my roundabout way of avoiding the question. So how much do you spend? It would probably be, it would usually be €2.50 a day. Right. And then €2.50.
Cappuccino, is this, or is that
it's usually a cappuccino, yeah. So,
okay.
But then you see, I could be very posh at the weekend, and I could have something like a caramel macchiato, which might be €4.
Right.
But I make that choice.
Right.
To want to have that treat. So that would be where I would consider my coffee just the basic, and then my treat is the caramel macchiato. But it is as I say, and I know this might sound very, very basic and very flippant to some people, but it is the basis of any budget. So if I struggled to afford my coffee and I didn't make other changes, because I did make other changes in my budget this year, I I changed my gas and electricity provider to reduce down my costs. I got a better deal somewhere else. And I changed my bank account because the bank that I was with changed how it charged me to per transaction, which doesn't suit me because I don't like to work with cash. I like to work with my card.
Right.
So everything, even when I'm buying my coffee, I buy it with my card. So I wanted a bank that would only charge me a flat fee. So
Okay.
I changed from my bank to another account.
Can we name the bank?
No,
Okay.
if that's okay. Because I don't want, because like then it becomes very relevant to today. So if I mentioned the bank account, right? But what I would say is that if you have a look you can have a look, and there's a couple of websites that if anybody was interested in seeing, is there a better value bank?
Right.
There, you would look at consumerhelp.ie, which is the CCPC, or the Competition for Consumer Protection Commission in Ireland, which displays all financial products. You can go in and have a look. You can see their costs. You can see the terms and conditions on bank accounts, personal loans, credit cards, mortgages, insurance, car insurance, life insurance. So you can see all these and make a personal choice. And then with the gas and electricity, you could use, there's a couple of companies in Ireland that are approved for cost comparison, bonkers.ie, changeIreland.ie.
Oh, bonkers.ie? I've never heard of Bonkers. Is it like these Martin Lewis type of sites? Is it like the money saving expert type of thing?
No. Bonkers.ie is a site that allows you to go in and check gas and electricity. In Ireland, this is anyway, gas and electricity, TV, mobile phone, satellite TV, landline. You can go in and have a look and see, is there, you put in your own details. You could put in, say, I'll explain it better now by actually doing it in my head. So I go in and I'd say, I am with GasIreland.com and I am with electricityeurope.com, and I go in and I say, I know how much I pay to each of them every year, and then I search to see, is somebody else going to give me a better deal?
Right.
And I get all the regulated providers in Ireland with their costs for my household usage type, and it allows me then to make a decision on how much I'm going to save and whether I want to move. And then sometimes you could ring your own provider and say, well, I'm looking here on, say, Bonkers or Switcher, with one of these comparison websites, and it's going to save me €300 or €400 if I change from you to another provider. And sometimes your provider might match that to keep you. So I am loyal to my bank account rather than a company.
Okay.
If that's okay to say.
Yep.
I'm loyal to my pocket, and if a company wants to be loyal to me, they do need to give me the best value. And I think that that's what we do need to do ourselves, and feel okay to chop and move and switch to somewhere that is going to give you better value, and not feel guilty about it, or not feel that it's too much trouble. So some of our websites like bonkers.ie will actually do the switch for you. They'll contact your current provider and say you're leaving. They'll contact the new provider and say you're joining.
Right. Oh, okay. So it's quite simplistic.
Yeah. That's actually, I recently did it. I did it in September myself with, I did use one of the comparison websites, and I select, yes, please, I would like to choose this is the best one. You get all the options, and they say whether you want to pay by direct debit, pay in cash, pay on a prepayment meter. Do you want to get a paper bill? Do you want to get an online bill? So you can select all of these different options, see who's willing to offer it to you, how much they're going to offer it to you for, and then make your choice about leaving or not.
Can we move on then, Gwen? I mean, not so much move on, but with regards to when individuals or families are struggling financially, and mental health becomes, we hear about this word all the time, mental health, mental health, mental health. So what supports are out there within Ireland, for example, to help people that, due to the financial problems, that are having these mental health issues?
So mental health is unfortunately a common factor when people are struggling that we would meet, you know, a common situation that people come forward with because they're worried, they're getting pressure from the whoever they owe money to pay. They're maybe not sleeping properly because they're worried that tomorrow they won't be able to pay the bills. And again, going back on the earlier conversation, people feel a little bit of shame or guilt, and then they're not talking to somebody. And talking, when you have a problem, they always say talking a problem halves it in some ways, because you're sharing the problem with somebody. It's not that you're giving them your problem, but you're talking through and maybe looking at solutions. So we would find that, and the feedback that we would get from people is that when they engage with us and they see a plan, and we're helping them contact their creditors and tell their story, that there is a relief there for them in some ways, particularly around their financial situation. But then somebody might be struggling with their mental health in other ways. And or I'm not saying that MABS is going to take away any kind of mental health pressures you feel, but there are a lot of, in Ireland, there would be a lot of services that would support people with any kind of concerns about their mental health. So, and there would be a lot of traditional ones. I think there might be international as well, like the Samaritans. Then the PA to House in Ireland as well. And then there's a new text support line for people, and it was set up during the restrictions, the first lockdown. It was set up, and it's supported by the government, by the HSE, and people could text the number 50828 and just say, I'm struggling, or I need someone to talk to. And you don't have to engage on the phone then. You can actually get support by text if you're feeling very vulnerable and you feel you're not ready to make a phone call, or you're not ready for somebody to ring you. So mental health is very subjective. By subjective, I mean it's personal. There's so many different factors that might affect it and affect how you feel about being able to tell somebody that you don't feel okay. And there is a focus at the moment in Ireland with the government supporting mental health, because there is an appreciation that the restrictions and lockdown and the changes and COVID and all of the impact of COVID-19 has on people's mental health, anxiety, maybe depression and other worries. So there's quite a new amount of people to reach out to. And if anybody is feeling anxious, losing a bit of sleep, not able to eat, I would say, even if you have a trusted friend that you could talk to and just say, you are struggling, you need a bit of support. People are generally good like that. They might know somewhere else themselves that you could talk to. They might just talk you through things and make a plan. But it's important not to bottle it up yourself, because very often that won't help you. I'm not going to say recover, but help you deal with what's causing your anxiety in the first place. If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, do you find as well, Gwen, that, you know, depending on, you know, could you have somebody that owes €1,000 or somebody that owes $500,000? Could you get two different reactions from two different people? So would the person owing 1,000 be maybe sometimes more stressed than the person is actually owing the $500,000, or is it just depending on the individual?
Can I just correct the number before I forget? Because I think I said 50828. It's actually 50808.
No worries.
50808 is that text number with the HSE. Yes, and as I said, any kind of anxiety that we feel is personal, very personal to each of us. As you know, I'm not the best on flying, but
No.
that's a personal thing. So so when you're asking me, do we meet people who worry about owing 1,000 and people who worry about owing 1,000,000? Yes. Everybody has we all have different pressure points, if you want to call it that, and different worries. And you'll know somebody who's afraid. Have you got any phobias, Dave? Have you got, like, afraid of spiders, afraid of anything?
Going grey.
Okay, well, I don't know grayophobia. I'm not too sure what the word for that is, but yeah, like, I think everybody has something that they're a little bit nervous of, or a lot nervous of. So we'd say me and flying.
Yes.
I'm not afraid of it, but I'm not really a lover of it. I don't like the feeling. Now, fear and logic do not exist together. So my logic of knowing I'm okay, it's a bit of turbulence, versus my fear of, oh gosh, what's this? And they don't really exist together. And that's why we all, as I said, we all have very personal pressure points and very personal trigger points that would maybe impact how I feel about owing €100 or owing 100,000 or owing just tomorrow's bill of €80. Yeah. So it's very personal. So it's not that anybody should feel reaching out, if you're thinking about reaching out to MABS, it's not that you would be expecting for us to say, you know, if you ring tomorrow and you say, well, I owe €100 on a bill and I'm worried about it, you would never, I certainly, please don't expect that we would go, actually, you're grand. It's only €100. Come back when you owe more. No, we would take it that we would be listening, that this is, you've reached out, you want to get a plan in place, you may not owe anything. And you may be just anxious that next week you might owe if you don't get a plan in place now. And that's perfectly fine. Everybody is different in their coping mechanisms as well, or what they worry about. They're all personal.
Let's change the tone a little bit, Gwen, have a little bit of fun.
Okay.
We're gonna have
play some music.
Well, not the music, but we know what music you like, but we'll move on about that.
Karaoke.
Karaoke.
Yeah.
And all the Japanese bars. There we go.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a quick fire round of questions to see your knowledge.
Pop quiz,
hotshot, on MABS and also the holiday season, to see how much you know. So you're ready to go?
Okay. Gold star on the other end.
Gold star. We'll see. Okay. So the first question is: the clock is starting, and what is the MABS phone number? So we have a national helpline phone number, which is 0761 07 2000. But then we also have 51 offices to be contacted. But the number that I would promote is the helpline, the Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. And they can put you in contact with an office if you need, or you can talk to a MABS advisor and they will support you through your journey yourself. Did you Google that answer? I did not. Okay. So, how many reindeers are there? Oh, no. I don't. Has he got 11? I actually don't know. I think how many reindeers are there? Yeah, is there? No. So obviously, then the next question you're probably going to go down is, can I name them? Well, obviously, Rudolph. I could do it in alphabetical order, could you? No, I don't think if I didn't know how many reindeer Santa has, I think I might not know their names. Well, if any mommy, daddy's kids listening to this, you can, I'm sure, email Gwen directly. I'm sure if people can, yes. I have taken my eye off the reindeers list this year. Apologies. No. I will get my festive season on. Well, I have the names here. According to Google, 12 reindeers. We have Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. Obviously, I can't count. Rudolph. There's another two going on there. There's Dunder and Dunder, depending on the country that you're in. And then Rudolph. And then Rudolph as well. And then Rudolph. Okay. Can't forget Rudolph. What is the MABS website? www.mabs.ie.
And if you do come onto our website, you get a few different services at the moment. So you get a messenger app, which is like a little widget that pops up and asks, how can I help? And you can message us privately there. You can go in and you can request a call back. So if you don't want to message us, but you do want somebody to ring, and if it's after 8 o'clock at night and you decide you want somebody to give you a ring back, you can go in and request a call back. Or on our website, we do have a large number of self-help tools. So we would have budgets, you can fill out your budget. We had a few fact sheets that were specific to COVID and restrictions and lockdowns, like working from home, the things to expect, higher food bills, higher, gas and electricity, but less petrol, and no parking and no transport, so kind of swings and roundabouts there. But there's other little fact sheets that we would have, such as the 12 steps of Christmas savings, and maybe back to school for people who are on to third level. So you can go in and have a good route around, and hopefully we would hope that you might find something that might be of benefit to you and your personal situation currently.
So you know the 12 steps of saving, but you don't know the 12 reindeers.
No.
Horrendous.
No, isn't that? Yeah.
Horrendous.
I know, yeah. Well, I don't have to tax them or anything like that, so maybe they're outside of my thought process at the moment.
So finish the song, Rudolph.
Do you want me to sing it?
Like.
No, I don't think anybody wants me to sing it. And anybody who's ever been out with me at karaoke will be sitting there going, please do not sing. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny nose.
And in the next one, can you finish the song, You Better Watch?
Out, you better not cry. You better not pout.
I'm
telling you why.
There we go.
Santa Claus is good. Now you're going to have me singing that.
So here's a technical question, Gwen, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can Santa come down the chimney if you don't have one?
Well, he is magic. And he only comes down the chimney if we believe he's coming down the chimney. If we don't believe, then how's he going to get in? He gets in through your chimney or otherwise by your belief, and your belief in him and your belief in magic. And that's how he comes in.
That's a really good answer. Really,
no, but it's not a really good answer. It is the truth.
Yeah.
Well, we have to believe in Santa. We can't question Santa. And if you have a radiator, or if you don't have a fire, and if you have an electric heater or otherwise, don't worry, Santa will be in. If you believe, then your belief helps Santa get in. To leave the presents.
Well, I mean, I'm going to name drop. I mean, I spoke to Santa today, all the way from Lapland. So,
you must have been a good boy this year.
How cool am I?
Absolutely. And now you get to speak to me this evening.
That was top of the list.
It's like day
5 of the
day in the life.
That's it. Really living the high life here. So, how many branches do MABS have?
We have I know I did mention 51, but we actually have about 60 offices around the country. And I say about because at the moment, obviously in COVID, we used to have outreach where we might go out and be part-time in an office. And at the moment, we mightn't be able to do that with the restrictions. So we do have a network of 60 offices around the country. So there would be 8 different regions, and each region then has enough offices, and I say enough as in every county is covered, every big city is covered with more than one. Dublin, Cork and Galway would have more than one MABS office to make us accessible. But then I think that online, phone, a Zoom, Messenger, callbacks, we're becoming a little bit more accessible than having to expect to always knock on a MABS door. There's lots of other ways to contact us.
And you mentioned this already, and the operating hours of MABS?
So our helpline is 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. Monday to Friday. And then the offices are generally 9 to 5. So, but the helpline is always there outside until 8 o'clock.
Who is your secret Santa this year?
I can't tell, because then they will know who is my secret Santa this year.
Is it one of the guys or the girls in the office?
There is more than one, because I'm in a few different secret Santas. Yes. So, and will I make a homemade present this year? That will be all down to I don't know, the next couple of weeks, and what kind of glitter gun and whatever else I can find. Will I be making my own personalized cards? As you know, I love doing that. So yes, you might get a personal glitter-filled card.
I can't.
Secret Santa, if you're listening.
The excitement is really riveting. So, were you happy with the kettle you got last year?
Loved it. Can I have an iron this year?
I'm saying nothing. I'll say I'm sure all the complaints be coming in if I say something like that.
Yes.
So, we spoke about this before, and we said we briefly pass over. I know you were hoping that Brezzy would be your secret Santa this year, but is there any opportunity of that happening?
I don't think so, and I suppose it is probably appropriate that we clarify why that's come up. Niall Breslin, or Brezzy, has when we talked about mental health, I think Niall Breslin.
I thought you were going to say a barring order against you.
No, potentially, no, but
okay.
has done a significant amount of work, and he's a lot of passion in shining light on mental health, particularly mental health pressures on young children, or young adults and children. And I think that what he is doing for our mental health awareness and open to talk, and campaign of it's okay to not be okay, it does need to be recognized, and so it does go hand in hand quite often, as you had mentioned earlier on, with debt. Not necessarily for young adults and children, like I did mention, but certainly for everybody, that mental health pressures, anxiety do come with debt and loss of income or reduced income. And so I do have a significant amount of admiration for Lust for Life, the campaign, if you follow it, about how positive exercise is for our mental health. I'm not saying that it is going to solve every problem, but it does help us work out a little bit of stress relief through exercise. And Niall Breslin, or Brezzy, he has that Lust for Life campaign, and again, that's just another way of bringing or normalizing talking about mental health pressures, is having a national campaign like that, or a platform such as Lust for Life, which is now a charity. And so anybody who can bring mental health discussions and campaigns and solutions to social media in a very seamless way is hats off. Absolutely.
Well, fair play to you, Brezzy, if you're listening to this podcast. As Gwen has said, great admiration for somebody like you. So you're doing a great job. So keep up. I know you have an award-winning podcast as well. You have. I think you won an award recently as well, Brezzy. So well done. So what words of inspiration do you have for everyone out there that, as we mentioned about the mental health part, but struggling financially at this time?
First thing I'd say is anybody who is struggling financially or with their mental health is just reach out, maybe talk to somebody. We are in a situation where there's so many people affected, so don't feel alone. That, I think, is that would be my worst one. Please do my worst one. My strongest suggestion is, please do not feel alone. If you're struggling with finances, or if you're struggling with mental health, you are certainly not alone. There are a lot of people in the same boat. It might be a different boat to you, but there's a lot of people in the same situation. You're not alone. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It is hard to make the first call or the first reach out, sending a message, but do it. Try just to send a message and say, I need to talk about my mental health or about my finances. So mental health, obviously, that number 50808, or the Samaritans or Pieta House would be certainly a great support if you felt really anxious and you really did need immediate support. And then if you're struggling financially, or if you're worried about struggling financially, because I do appreciate that we don't know what's coming down the road. So just reach out to MABS and see if we can point you in the direction, or we can support you. And then with regard to Christmas, look, Christmas every year does bring a serious amount of pressures in lots of ways. This year, I think, is a very different Christmas. And we are probably going to be in very small pods, maybe, or otherwise. And in some ways, that might be quite nice, because, Christmas is usually so busy, and we're going here and we're going there and we're visiting everybody. Where this year, if we are asked to visit less people, let's take it as a in one way as a little kind of breather, to this year, and stay at home, make the cookies, make the pastas, whatever, if you can. Do little things that make you happy, walking, whatever it is, and try not to try not to worry too much, but try not to be alone too much in your own thoughts, and reach out and talk to somebody again if you're feeling that way.
As a reminder, Gwen, I know we went through the website. Where is MABS on social media? I think you have Instagram, you have Facebook,
we do.
Twitter.
Yep. So we do have a national, it'll be at MABS Info. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. For most people, that would be the main thing. If there was any industries listening that might want more kind of creditor focused or referral agency focused about MABS, you could get in touch with us as well. We're not just, we can give advice and we could give information to you that you might say, if you wanted to reach out and say, I think our employees would like some information about MABS or posters about MABS, or if you're in education and you feel you'd like some information, reach out to us. And we're not just there to deal with people who are in debt now, but we're also there to support good, healthy budgeting and money management across all sectors. So.
And can they follow you and subscribe?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we're free. There's no subscriptions. You can just follow us. Yeah, we're open. They're open social medias, so you can just follow us, and you'd find some tips. And sometimes we're bringing things from the website to social media to make it a bit more accessible, a bit easier in your face, and then you can go on to the website and you can dig a bit deeper for whatever your own personal situation is.
Well, from my side, generally because of the aviation side, it's as an airline pilot, if anybody out there who's from the industry, I'm sure you're doing your very best at this moment in time. If you are struggling, as Gwen said, nothing to be embarrassed about whatsoever. Get in touch with MABS, ask for help. Don't be afraid or don't be embarrassed. And just say again, go ahead.
Before you go there, if anybody is listening that's not in Ireland, if you go on to the ECDN website, so that's the European Consumer Debt Network, so ECDN website, you'll find debt advice information for other countries, and you'd find COVID responses, for COVID-19 responses from other governments. You might find contact information there, and or you can follow the ECDN on social media as well, and you could maybe reach out, and if you're looking for information in your country, that might be another way, because Conscious MABS is very Irish based.
Well, we did a podcast with the ECDN, which is really good. It was really, really, really good. I don't
really
like self
really
promoting. It was amazing.
Amazing.
It was really super.
We're amazing.
We did it with
Oscar noms, Oscars. Yeah.
Cans, here we come. It's really,
yes.
Yes, it won all the awards. But no, as Gwen said.
No. I was going, yes, all the awards. Thank you.
All the awards. But as Gwen has mentioned, even for myself and Aviation Zorro, that thanks to MABS and all the work that they do, because they really do a great job, the team in there. And anything that we ask, Gwen is always, the first to respond and very helpful. So, please reach out to these guys because they know what they're doing. They will help you, and especially now, considering the circumstances. So, thanks so much to North Dublin MABS Regional Manager. I said that. There was a tongue twister.
You did, tongue twister.
Gwen Harris for joining me today. And as Gwen has said, get in touch if you need to reach out. Thanks, Gwen.
Thank you. Thanks very much.